I'm Carol Peterman, owner of TableFare.com. Spices add flavor, texture, and color to the food you cook in a variety of ways. It's largely the cooking method you're using that will determine if whole or ground spices are the better choice. Quickly cooked dishes typically don't allow enough time for the whole spices to add flavor, making ground a better choice. Whereas whole spices are perfect for slow-cooked foods and are also a clever way to add flavor without adding texture or sediment that might be undesirable in a finished dish. Spice cider, cream sauces, poaching or pickling liquids are examples of when the texture and appearance of ground spices can be undesirable. You can add spice flavors into food in a number of ways. Adding ground or whole spices directly to a dish, such as a bit of cinnamon in an apple pie or sesame seeds tossed into a stir fry, is the most common way to use them. Spices can also be used as a dry rub to impart flavor into meat, poultry, or fish. If you add a little bit of oil or with some lemon juice or white wine, fresh herbs and garlic, and that dry rub becomes a spice paste, which is another great way to marinate meats. Spice flavor can also be infused into foods by smoking, steaming, or steeping. Infusing a spice into hot cream is a great starting point for ice cream bases, custards, or puddings. A bay leaf cinnamon stick tossed into a pot of steaming rice is another great example of how to infuse flavor into your food. Now, large or potent whole spices like cinnamon, clove, or bay leaf need to be removed from a dish before serving because they're really unpleasant to bite into. So if you're making a soup or a stew, it can actually be a little difficult to find these spices at the end of cooking to retrieve them. So a few tricks are to tie the spices in a little cheesecloth pouch. You can also bundle them together with a piece of string, which can then easily be retrieved. Little tea bags or tea strainers are another great way to be able to retrieve your spices easily. A trick for cloves is to poke them into a bit of citrus zest or a piece of onion that might be in the dish so that you can find them to get them out. Cumin, coriander, fennel, and mustard seed are examples of spices that are whole seeds, but they're small enough and mild enough that you can eat them whole. And these small seed spices add a wonderful texture to dishes and an additional layer of flavor interest because they don't release their full flavor until they're bitten into. So they're also beautiful and often used to garnish or make a beautiful crust on a food, and this baguette is a perfect example. The most important thing to know about spices is that they lose their aroma and flavor over time. So buying them in quantities that you'll use within a few months makes a big difference in the flavor you get, especially if you're buying pre-ground spices. Buying whole spices and grinding as needed will always give you the best flavor. Now, some spices like nutmeg, cardamom, and coriander, and even peppercorns are particularly volatile and lose portions of their flavor profile very quickly once they've been ground. So even if you normally buy ground spices, these are a few worth purchasing whole and grinding yourself. A small electric coffee grinder or mortar and pestle is all you need to grind your own spices at home. When cooking with dried herbs, you just need to crumble them between your fingers as you're adding them to the dish, which will help release the flavor. So I hope you have fun adding great flavor, texture, and color to the food you cook using your spice collection.